WilmaMankiller's incredible journey began simply enough in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, on a farm where she lived with her parents, 6 brothers, and 4 sisters.
We lived in a very rural, isolated, bilingual Cherokee community. There was no paved road near our house. We had no indoor plumbing, no electricity, very little access to the world outside our community, which was a very Cherokee world. And we spent a lot of time outdoors. We had to be very creative to think about what we were going to do and what fun things we could find to do. And so we used nature a lot for games and that sort of thing. So it was actually a very wonderful life.
In the 1950s, Wilma's family left the familiarity of Tahlequah and relocated to San Francisco through the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Basically, when my family moved from Oklahoma to California, the Bureau of Indian Affairs was attempting to move tribal people from their traditional homelands to urban areas. And I think many people would agree that it was another misguided federal policy. I had no idea of what life was like outside our little world. And the Bureau of Indian Affairs didn't do any kind of orientation. And when we arrived in San Francisco, the government put us up in a hotel. And the first time I heard a siren, I thought it was an animal, because I was used to relating to sounds outside, basically being animal sounds or sounds of nature. When I saw an elevator for the first time, it terrified me, because people would go in and then they would just disappear. You have no idea where they went. And then other times, people would come and get out, totally different people. It was really an interesting time for us, a very difficult time.
Well, did people treat you differently? Did city folks basically look at you like, you know?
City folks treated us differently for 2 reasons. One is because of our name. And so you can look at me and say, you know, she's ethnic, but I'm not quite sure what she is. And so I think that in part because of our name, and in part because we looked like country people.
What does your family name Mankiller mean?
Well, when people give me a hard time, I tell them that Mankiller is a nickname and I earned it. But that's really not true. My name, Mankiller, was originally a title. And Cherokee people lived in villages and that were quite separate from one another. And there was a person who watched over the villages, kind of like a warrior, whose title was Mankiller. And this one fellow liked the title and he kept it for his name. And that's who we trace our ancestry back to.
Oh, that's fabulous.
So that's where the name comes from.
And you went to school at San Francisco State University.
Yes, I did.
And what did you study there?
I studied social science and political science. I've always had an interest in political science and always in reading and that sort of thing.
Did you know then that you wanted to get involved with Native American rights and with activities at that time, or what was the turning point for you?
I think the turning point for me, the real turning point, was the occupation of Alcatraz Island in 1969, which was 30 years ago. And before that, I think there was a slow political process that started just by listening to people. And then when Alcatraz happened, I think it was the first time I saw Native people who I knew, people that I met from the Indian Center, basically stand up and say, the American dream may be one thing, but that's not for us. We have our own dreams. We have Native dreams.
The Native American movement, which included the 1969 occupation of Alcatraz, had a significant impact on Wilma, which her memoirs state changed her forever. Later, she returned to her native Oklahoma.
When I came home, I'd been very active in California, politically active. Basically, I thought, I just want to raise my girls and live a quiet life and raise my daughters and introduce them to some of the things that I learned as a child and that sort of thing, and it didn't work out that way.
No.
But that was my thought.
In 1980, you were enrolled at the University
of
Arkansas, right?
In the School of Architecture. And while I was there, I was involved in a really terrible, life-changing automobile accident. It was the odds of 2 friends running into each other are just, you have to be astronomical. But anyway, my friend was driving one way, and I was driving another way when I was in graduate school, and we ran into each other head on. It was absolutely crazy. and I was injured quite extensively. And I came so close to death during that period of time that I almost think of my life as the Wilma who lived before the accident and the Wilma who lived after the accident, because it was more of a change actually than the Alcatraz, which was kind of a political watershed for me. It was being that close to death, so close that you can you can feel it and touch it, caused me to no longer have a fear of death at all, and so therefore I no longer had a fear of life. And so after that, I came out of that whole experience. I was very injured. My whole face had been crushed. My ribs had been broken. Both my legs had been broken. It was a terrible accident. But I came out of that whole experience almost thinking that experience was a gift, because it taught me so much, and I was able to do some things I would have never been able to do had I not had that experience.
What was the biggest lesson for you in that experience?
I think one, having survived both the physical trauma and my participation in the death of someone, of a friend, and a wonderful, wonderful woman at that, I think that's probably what had the biggest impact on me. And I felt in a way that because Sherry was gone, that I needed to live for Sherry. You know, I needed to
Carry on
yeah, I
with her
needed to
life.
carry on with her. So I always felt, even all these years later, that that part of what I do is a tribute to her.
I was just fascinated that after you had and overcame this one tragic accident,
Right.
then you had a neuromuscular
Yes, I
disease.
did. It was crazy. I just was getting well from the accident, and I started dropping things, and I couldn't hold a toothbrush, or I couldn't hold a hairbrush, and I started falling down and that sort of thing. And through a series of tests, I ended up at the Muscular Dystrophy Association in Tulsa, and they determined that I had myasthenia gravis. I could not believe it.
It was July 1987,
Right.
which the Cherokee Nation had elected their first woman chief
Right.
of the nation.
Right.
Tell me how that occurred.
Everything is related to everything else.
Yeah.
I think you can start with our removal from our homeland in Oklahoma to California, and then Alcatraz, and then the accident, and all that led up to who I was, in order to reach a point where a Native American woman from a very rural, large, poor family would have the self-confidence to step up and say, not only do I think I can lead, but I want you to elect me, and I want you to follow me. There was a long process there.
After the election, Wilma tragically faced several life-threatening illnesses, including 2 kidney failures, lymphoma, and a battle with breast cancer.
Surely there was a time when you finally looked up in the sky and said, when is this going to end? I mean, why does this keep happening to me? Did that thought...
No, I don't let myself go there. Even when I was very, very ill and my prognosis wasn't all that great with lymphoma, I had no hair, I was very thin, I was very sick. I still would say, get up and go water the flowers. Go play guitar. Make yourself do something, turn on the radio, dance, read, talk to somebody. I'm not gonna do this. And so
Do you think that this is a common characteristic of strength of Native American women?
I do. I have always thought people think that I'm unusual, and I don't think so. I think that I'm like a lot of other Cherokee women who get up every day and face a daunting set of problems just getting through the day. Their problems are just different.
You received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1998, but what was your most personally fulfilling accomplishment as Chief of the Cherokee Nation?
Well, I'm proud of all the things that I did, and I built a lot of clinics. We bought an old hospital and turned it into a clinic. We did a lot of youth services. We built many, many things, and built a membership, doubled the budget, and all that. You can read about all that. But I think that personally fulfilling, I think that from an emotional perspective, being invited by a group of elders to come and sit with them when I was relatively young was probably the most rewarding thing, because I always, no matter who elected me or what the outside world said about what was going on with me, it mostly mattered to me what the elders thought about me.
What do you think you've accomplished for women?
I'm not sure that one single person can accomplish a whole lot for women. I think that I've done my little part, but there are lots of other women who have done their part as well. It's a wonderful circle. I think that everybody we interact with, hopefully, we'll all walk away today and have gained something from you and you from me, but all women, gain things from one another, and we all encourage each other to move forward. So if I was a tiny, small part of that, I was happy to do that.
To find out more about WilmaMankiller and the Cherokee Nation, you can visit our website at www.storiesfromtheheart.com.